What is the relationship between artificial intelligence and the process of ascension into fourth and fifth density? Everything is just one consciousness, one entity, one mind that wants to experience reality of separation, wants to understand itself, wants to see what it's able to create, what choices it would make, etc., etc., etc. So it splits itself into gazillions of units of consciousness, and these units of consciousness go through. We are in the moment of a birth of the child, if you would like to use the analogy here. And because the way that humanity has been living for the last few thousand years is that everything is coming from the ego. So you see, this is the one of two paths. One path is organic path, where we stay away from that. The other path is the synthetic path. So my view is that Mr. Elon Musk is an antichrist, basically. Remember that someone like that would present himself as the savior, right? Hey, this is Mike Sula from TrueTheory.com, and welcome to another episode of True Spirituality. So True Spirituality is my series where I talk about metaphysics, esoteric ideas and teachings, mysticism, shamanism, consciousness, spirituality, meditation, a little bit of everything. So if you like these types of topics, welcome. If you are new here, please subscribe and have a look at previous episodes as well, because this is episode like 79 or 80 or whatever. It's quite a lot of content already about these types of subjects. So today we're gonna talk about what is the relationship between artificial intelligence and the ascension process into fourth and fifth density, because these things are very much related. But before we gonna start, I need to make an announcement. So my online course called Exit the Matrix is live now. You can check it out at truetheory.com/academy. So it's a personal development course with over 30 modules, bonus guided meditation, very good meditation, heart chakra meditation. A lot of people like it. And it's a personal development course that focuses on many different areas, and it helps people to figure out what is blocking them from reaching their goals. So if you are interested, currently I'm offering it at half price. All you have to do is use the coupon code Black Friday together at checkout, and you can get it for as little as $60 at the moment, and it's only for the next 50 people. Already a couple of people bought it at this price, so once it's gone, it's gone. A lot of people do some kind of offers on Black Friday, and why not spend a little bit of money on yourself instead of buying more crap that you probably don't need? I think this is a good investment, and it's not even expensive. Very, very cheap. I wanted to make sure it's going to be affordable for as many people as possible, and at the same time provide as much value as I can. So hurry up, go to truetheory.com/academy, use the coupon code Black Friday together, and get yourself this amazing course for very little money. Alright, so now let's talk about the topic. So what is the relationship between artificial intelligence and the process of ascension into fourth and fifth density? So let's first talk about what is the ascension process. I made a video going in details about the ascension process. You can have a look at it. Also made a second video about why some souls are trapped on Earth, where I'm elaborating further on this whole thing of ascension. You might want to check that video as well. But let's quickly summarize it once again. So everything is just one consciousness, one entity, one mind that wants to experience reality of separation, wants to understand itself, wants to see what it's able to create, what choices it would make, etc., etc., etc. So it splits itself into gazillions of units of consciousness, and these units of consciousness go through different stages of evolution until they merge back to the source consciousness once again and become the all-powerful mind. This is the basis of reality. This is what we are experiencing. So when we go through evolution as a unit of consciousness, as a soul, and we go through the process of reincarnation, we are getting to the level where we become self-aware. Like now you have your ego, etc. You make decisions, and you can decide how do you want to continue your evolution further into fourth density, fifth density, sixth density, etc. So basically how you want to progress with your evolution into adulthood, because what you are experiencing now, it's kind of like the period of being a teenager, let's say, and now you are entering an adulthood in the scale of evolution. So you are presented with the choice. That's why we have options. You can become more service to self or more service to others. And if you become more service to others, once you finish the third density, you can continue your evolution as a positive entity. If you decide to become service to self through your actions, etc., then once you are at the peak of third density, you either have to reset, start third density again if you are somewhere in the middle, or if you are super service to self, then you continue evolution higher, but you change polarity and you become service to self being. So this is what all the cultures and ancients talked about. Hopi, prophecy stones show you two timeline splits, right? There is a moment when the path splits between one group that is service to self and the other that is service to others. In the Bible, the times of tribulation, the righteous ones, etc. Yes, people who are service to self or not. Mayans, all the New Age stuff, this is always talking about the same thing. This is just how the evolution works. This process of evolution is actually resembling the basic blueprint of creation, right? So, which is basically what I just said, where the source consciousness divides itself into gazillions of units. They go through evolution, right? Until they merge back to itself. The higher in evolution, the higher frequency. Faster, souls join together, they become collectives, things like that, right? Because at the top, everything is a collective, everything is just one thing. All the units are one thing, right? This process of evolution, starting slowly, and the farther the evolution, the more it peaks, the more exponentially it speeds up. This is reflected in everything. For example, if you look at the process of a growth of a fetus, you have cells dividing, right? Starting slowly, but when you divide something, at some point the division becomes exponential, right? And in the process of 9 months, it reaches the full stage. You have a child, right? If you look at the progress over the last few thousand years, what do you see? The same thing. Starts slowly, right? But you look at the last, let's say, few hundred years, like let's say Industrial Revolution, last 200 years, 300 years, suddenly things started shifting, speeding up, right? Then 20th century, computers, globalization, era of technology, things started speeding up again. Now you look at the last 2 decades, internet, social media, AI, things like that, global migration, European Union, all these different things. Everything is starting to grow exponentially faster and faster and faster and faster, right? This is the process of evolution. This is the process of merging back to the source. The higher on the evolutionary scale, the higher the frequency, the faster everything moves. I heard about China building a hospital in 10 days, right? Think about it. That's only happening in the last few years, right? So this process of exponential growth is the basic process of creation, right? Same like when you look at how the fetus is formed, right? With division of cells, evolutionary process. This is the basic mechanism of creation, which is the mechanism of merging back to the source consciousness reflected fractally in everything, basically. Economic cycles work in similar ways very often. So this is the basis of everything, one of the blueprints of creation in everything. So what happens now is that we are at the peak of third density. We are in the moment of a birth of the child, if you would like to use the analogy here. And because the way that humanity has been living for the last few thousand years is that everything is coming from the ego, false identity, the reality that we created is reflecting that. For example, most people live from the ego, right? So more for myself, right? Using everything for my own benefit, right? Using other people for my own benefit, using resources for my benefit, right? More exploitation is better. This is our economic system, right? The capitalistic society. More is better. Disregard for the natural resources, for the Gaia, for other things, for suffering is not important. It's just infinite economic growth, right? So if you look at our system in society, how people live from ego, right? Having that mask. Ego is this artificial layer, fake layer that we created to get more for ourselves, right? I hope we can agree that this is the basis of human behavior for the last few thousand years, right? So when we get to the peak of third density and we've been living from that false mask all the time for the last few thousand years, which created fake reality. It created technology, for example, which is inorganic, right? So think about this, is all related. Technology, internet, for example, is just a combination of all the computers together, right? In a way, connected into a network and servers and things like that, right? And computer, in a way, is a reflection of the mind. So through living out of ego, false identity, false reality, we built artificial reality, because obviously technology is not organic, it's fake, it's made of synthetic reality, and ego is a synthetic version of ourselves. And once we are getting to the peak, we create fake consciousness, right? Hope this makes sense. So fake consciousness is AI, right? The process of moving back into the consciousness is reflected in everything, including the process of evolution into third density, right? We are moving to the peak, but because we've been living from the ego, from false identity, the version that we created now in a society is reflecting that. So it's fake as well. So, technology is inorganic, right? Now, of course, it is also coming from selfish behavior, right? Because people just want more and more and more convenience and more stuff, and that created companies, for example, that build technology, that build AI and things like that, right? Think about, let's say that if, for example, humanity would live completely differently for the last few hundred or few thousand years, not doing everything from the ego, from service to self, but more in an altruistic way, maybe focus would be on completely different things. So instead of trying to use technology to enhance our abilities, we could use our own technology, which is our own ability. We all have psychic abilities, we all have these things, but they're not developed. Same like supposedly in times of Atlantis, a lot of technology was just to amplify your own abilities, right? Like people were more psychic, things like that, so you would use crystal, for example, to enhance that. We had people like Nikola Tesla who tried to create free electricity and stuff like that, but service to self guys like JP Morgan didn't allow it, right? So if, for example, people, instead of building this fake reality for the last few hundred years, would focus daily on enhancing their abilities, all the technologies would be happening telepathically already. We wouldn't have to have the fake reality, or there would be a mixture of both our own abilities and technology, but it would be way more organic, and it would be just amplifiers of our own abilities, right? So what happens now is that this building of reality from the ego, which creates technology, synthetic world, fake world, capitalistic society, etc. And that's obviously service to self, because we just want more and more and more. This goes too far at the peak. When the birth is forming, when we are peaking the third density, right, the birth into fourth, it's kind of our convenience, our greed, the ego locks itself, and might, for some, might create irreversible path further, right? It's like, think about, you make something from a clay or whatever, and you can still keep making changes to it, but once it's solid, it's solid. Pick, you cannot do anything with it, right? So things are now solidifying, right? And what happens is that the technology gets to a level where what was convenience for us, it becomes our own prison. So AI, transhumanism, these two things, right? If you look at what every single futurist, techno entrepreneur tells you, is that we are entering an era of artificial intelligence and transhumanism. And what it means is that the idea is that people will have implants or some kind of technologies implanted in their skulls, bodies, and things like that to connect themselves to fake networks, you know, internet of things, etc. At the same time that AI will replace most jobs and all these things, right? So what was convenience, what came, it's literally becoming your prison now, because if AI takes over everything, then you don't have a job, right? You rely on corporations and governments. If, let's say, some kind of transhumanist device becomes a norm, like smartphone now or a laptop now, then everyone else has to use it to function in a society, because you're not gonna get a job or you're not gonna do anything without it. Like, it's hard to do anything now without a smartphone or a computer or internet, right? But what happens is that once you get to a level of transhumanism, which is exactly what Elon Musk is working on, and he's already testing his brain-computer interface microchip on people, then you lose your divinity, you lose yourself as a conscious human being, you become a cyborg, you become a half robot. So the fake ego reality that created this synthetic reality goes out of hand and takes you over, right? What you created is suddenly taking you over completely and becomes your prison, basically, because suddenly you have a guy who has full control over you. And also AI can hack it, for example, or can be used to hack everyone, right? So you see, this is the one of two paths. One path is organic path, where we stay away from that. The other path is the synthetic path, where the convenience, the entertainment, and all these things become your prison, take you over completely. And this is not a coincidence why these things like AI happen exactly now in this period in history, because this is exactly the moment of split of timelines that all these prophecies were talking about. There are two different timelines, two different options. One is organic, the other is synthetic. Now, what can we do about it? So my view is that Mr. Elon Musk is an antichrist, basically. Remember that someone like that would present himself as the savior, right? And I think in the Bible they were talking about it, that he's going to be a world leader, very charismatic, right? In the Bible they talk about that he's going to send a fire from heaven to earth and people are going to be in awe, right? And that sounds very much like vertically landing rockets, right? Sends fire from heaven to earth and people are in awe, right? But the guy is actually building a network of 5G satellites and is already developing microchip, and the microchip is implanted in the skull. I made a bunch of videos about it already. So the idea is to basically turn everyone into a cyborg where he's the guy under control of everything, right?
Well, that's the scenario. The merge scenario with AI is the one that seems like probably the best. Like
for us.
Yes. Like if you can't beat it, join it.
And as he says, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So meaning that if you can't beat the artificial intelligence, which is gonna happen anyway, it's gonna take over everything anyway, why not join them, right? That's his idea. Why not just join something that is millions of times more powerful than you and can steer you? Why not just allow it to control you? I guess, where is the logic in this? I cannot even believe that there is not too many people that question this. Don't worry about it so much. I know it might sound scary, but like I said, there is this whole thing about the shift of timelines or the split of timelines, and many people believe that it happened now. There was a lot of sources that talked about November 2023 when there is a final split of timelines. So really, the solution to not be on the negative timeline is, first of all, the timelines shift if we change, right? So the more you become service to others, then you are a service to self. You are rearranging the dream, because reality in a way is just like a simulation of the mind, right? So you're shifting to a probable different scenarios, different versions of reality, depending on the choices you make. So first, most important thing is that with your everyday choices, you need to become more service to others than you are service to self. Then you are shifting to different versions of reality that resonate with who you are and what you do, right? Another thing we can do, obviously, to expose this stuff, right? So for example, content such as this video, just share it everywhere, right? Make people aware of these things so they don't support people like Musk. If people don't buy his stuff, he doesn't have money to do these things, right? If people don't invest in his companies, if people don't purchase his cars and things like that, right? So these are the solutions, right? First, change yourself, become more service to others than you are to yourself. Second, expose the transhumanist agenda as much as possible with information so more people become aware. And third, obviously, don't get yourself fooled by these false prophets like Musk. You know, he's already apparently testing his device on humans, and people line up like little sheep for slaughter, right, one by one. So yeah, time to start waking up a little bit. So if this video makes sense, let me know in the comments. Please share this video if it's important. I hope it is important, because that's when you guys interact. Let me know what you think in the comments, give likes and share the content. This really helps so more people can find out about these things. So follow me on Instagram. It's Mike Segula on Instagram. Check out Exit the Matrix course at truetheory.com/academy. And keep in mind, I also do coaching one-on-one with personal development stuff and spirituality. truetheory.com/coaching. So thanks for watching another episode of True Spirituality. Until next time.